Hello, my friends. I wanted to make a video following the pointing out of the nature of mind, the contemplation of no mind at all, and just say that this is a very interesting practice and something to take your time with. When it comes to meditation and these schools of thought, there's always an emphasis never to take the teacher's word, never to take what you read in a book, but to sift it all through your own means and practice to discover it firsthand for yourself. And if you don't do that, then it's just another belief, it's just another idea. And so when we point out the nature of the mind, the task is to look directly at the mind. And what do you find? Where do you look? And what is doing the looking? It's a very fascinating process. You see that things get quiet. You sit down in meditation, thoughts come, mind wanders, and you take your attention and you look directly at the thought. If you're with presence looking at the thought, it's like a light that shines and the shadows flee. You look directly at the mind. Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche says that awakening is, or realization is none other than letting the mind recognize itself. Let the mind recognize itself. And so in some lineages of Buddhism, they say when we look for the mind, and when we point out the mind, if we are paying attention, we find there is nothing to find. There is nothing to hold. There is nothing concrete or solid. And in that not finding anything concrete or solid, we don't find much at all. We find that most of our wrestling, most of our confusion, most of our neuroses inside is a fantasy, a fabrication, and a fight with a phantom. This is really important. What wisdom could come if we see through that fight, and we see that the battleground is spaciousness, and we see that the opponent is like a cloud. And so when we look directly at the mind, we see that there's nothing that we find. They say the not finding is the finding. It's a very beautiful thing to say, because we're not looking for an answer. We're not looking for something to hold and say, aha, I found it. You don't find it. And in not finding it, you relax. And you sigh a breath of relief. And just like waking from a dream. The not finding it is finding it. And then you relax and you make a big sigh of relief, like waking from a dream. I would like to read something, which is the reason why I'm on this video today. And I'm going to read parts of a chapter from Zen Master Takuan from Japan, who was a notable poet and calligrapher, and known for his as a samurai swordsman, and for a lot of his writings. He brought in a lot of the teachings of what they called mushin, which is no mind, into the art of fighting and swordsmanship in the Shaolin tradition. So let's see what he has to say. He says, if one puts their mind in the action of their opponent's body, their mind will be taken by the actions of the opponent's body. If you put your mind in the opponent's sword, your mind will be taken by the sword. If you put your mind in the thoughts of the opponent's intention to strike you, the mind will be taken by the thoughts of the opponent's intention to strike you. If you put your mind in your own sword, it will be taken by your own sword. If you put it in your own intention of not being struck, it will be taken by your own intention of not being struck. If you put the mind in the other person's stance, it will be taken by the other person's stance, and so on. What this means is that there is no real place to put the mind. So we're saying attention, if we put it here, it's taken by here and we forget everything else. If it's here, it's taken by there, we forget everything else. It's unskillful means. What this means is that there is no place to put the mind. He says that somebody said to him, no matter where I put my mind, my intentions are held in check in the place where my mind goes, and then I lose the opponent. I lose what's going on around me. Because of that, I place my mind just below my navel, below my belly button, and I do not let it wander. Then I'm able to change according to the actions of my opponent. So this is the first step, to place the attention somewhere, to put the mind somewhere. And just as we did in the first week, we put the mind in the sensation of the breath right below the navel, and you held it there. And in our meditation practice, this is one of the first checkpoints. Put the mind there and do not let it wander. From there we can see how much it does wander, but we start to strengthen attention, we start to stabilize attention. But Takuan says something very interesting. He says, this is reasonable, but viewed from the highest standpoint of Buddhism, putting the mind just below the navel and not allow it to wander is a low level of understanding and not a high level of understanding. The level of understanding of putting the mind below the navel, putting the attention below the navel and not letting it wander, that's the level of discipline and training. It's very important. It's the level of discipline and training. It's the level of seriousness and sincerity. And then one of the masters says, seek after the lost mind. Now we seek after the lost mind. But he says this is also not the highest level. It has a sense of serious, but it's not the highest level. If you consider putting the mind below the navel and not letting it wander, then the mind will be taken by the mind that thinks of this plan. You will have no ability to move ahead, and you will be exceptionally unfree. It's a very subtle thing here. It's this egoic sense of self, this separate self, this mechanism and process of selfing, that even when it comes to sit down and practice meditation, and it thinks that it is doing something by attending to this and attending to that, it's secretly the same mechanism in action attending to the thing, and it sneaks in behind the back door and says, now I'm doing this, now I'm a good student, now I'm a great meditator, surely I will win the goal someday. They'll give me a reward, a gold star for how well I sit, how good my stillness is, how peaceful my mind is. And this leads to the next question. If putting the mind below the navel leaves me unable to function and without any freedom, then it's not really of that much use. But then in what part of my body should I put my mind? If I put it in my right hand, it's taken by the right hand. If I put it in the eye, taken by the eye. If I put it in the foot, it's taken by the foot, and the whole body loses its functioning. No matter where I place my mind, if I put it in one place, the rest of my body lacks its functioning. So if I hold my attention just in one little spot, which is very, very important for stabilizing attention, for growing the strength of attention, but if I keep doing that, when I do that, I fail to see everything that's around me. So it's just like what we were saying, to focus on attention, but then not forego awareness. So awareness is the bigger picture here. We can still have attention within awareness, but now I can be aware of right hand, right foot, left foot, all of it at once rather than just one at a time. I answered, he says, well then, where does one put his mind? I answered, if you don't put it anywhere, it will go to all parts of the body. It will extend throughout its entirety. In this way, when it enters the hand, it will realize the hand's function. When it enters the foot, it will realize the foot's function. And in the eye's function. If you should decide one place to put the mind, it will be taken by that place and it will lose its function. If one thinks, then they are taken by the thought. He says, keeping the mind like a tied-up cat and not allowing it to wander, when you keep it in check within yourself you will be detained. And forsaking it within your body, it will go nowhere. The effort not to stop the mind in just one place, this is discipline. The effort not to stop the mind in one place. And so in the beginning, we have to stop the mind in one place, to hold it still so we can gather our attention and awareness. And then when awareness is strengthened and we are broad and let everything be and allow everything to come and go, it takes a lot of discipline not to be taken with every single wave and ripple. So he says, not stopping the mind is object and essence. Put nowhere, it will be everywhere. Even in moving the mind outside the body, if it is sent in one direction, it will be lacking in all the other directions. If the mind is not restricted to just one direction, it will be in all 10 directions. So if we don't put it anywhere, this is kind of like what I'm saying is resting in presence. The right mind is the mind that does not remain in one place. It is the mind that stretches throughout the entire body and self. So he talks about the right mind and the confused mind, or the mind of clarity and the mind of no clarity. So the confused mind, it thinking something over and over again, it congeals in one place, it contracts, it gets restricted, it gets bound up like a knot. And here he uses the metaphor that, or the analogy that the confused mind is like ice. It's hard. Whereas the no mind, not letting it rest anywhere, it melts and becomes like water. And so it's bound up when it's contracted into the contents that are flowing through the vast open container, the edgeless infinite container. Yeah. And then when it's uncontracted from those contents, when it's free, it's like a river. It's a process. It's not a thing that we can hold. It's not concrete. It's not static. Yeah. So in not remaining in one place, the right mind is like water. The confused mind is like ice. The ice is unable to wash the hands or the feet. But when the ice is melted, it becomes like water and it flows everywhere and it can wash the hands and the feet and anything else. I really like this. I think this is very beautiful. He says when the mind is clear, when the mind is free, it can be like a healing balm to clean, to wash. Imagine this river like a shower, like a waterfall washing over you. No space to land means that everything's moving all the time in the nature of impermanence. When we confuse the nature of impermanence, we want it to stand still. We want it to be a certain way, and so we hold it. And we identify with that holding pattern. We become contracted. And the more we squirm to get out of it, or the more we squirm to believe it, the tighter it gets. But when we start to unravel it, there's a relief, there's a breath of fresh air. And that ice that becomes water is like a nourishing drink, is like a healing water that can wash the hands and wash the feet. I'll just read a little bit more and we'll be done. He says that no mind is the same as the mind of clarity. The no mind is placed nowhere, yet it is not like wood or stone. Where there is no stopping place, it is called no mind. When it stops, there is something in the mind. Where it stops, there is something in the mind. When there is nothing in the mind, it is called the mind of no mind. It is called no mind, no thought. And so the practice here is to let the mind be fluid. Again, we're not trying to restrict it or control it. We're letting it be completely fluid, like a river. And the container is vast and open like space. When we see that the nature of the mind is vast and open like space, when it becomes confused by the content, the weather, or the things that pass through that vast open spacious container, it gets contracted into the cloud, contracted into the tree, into the stone, into the thought, into the body, into the idea, the rumination, the past, the future gets contracted. And so when the mind is free and it doesn't stop anywhere, it's no mind. It's infinite and spacious. It's full, pure presence. It is being itself. And when it's contracted, it forgets that. And when it's contracted, it's because it's stopped. It's continuous, fluid, spacious, flowing. When no mind has been well developed, the mind does not stop with one thing, nor does it lack anything. It is like water overflowing, and it exists within itself. It appears appropriately when facing a time of need. So it doesn't mean that you're mindless. It doesn't mean that you're unable to have skillful thought or intelligence or proper rumination or contemplation. It means that when you need to use it, it is a functional tool. And it's the old saying that everyone says that the mind is a horrible master, but a good tool. Yeah? It's a wonderful tool, a wonderful servant, and not such a good master. And when the mind becomes fixed and stops in one place, it does not function freely. It loses its freedom, it loses its spaciousness. Similarly, a wheel of a cart goes around because it's not rigid in one place. If it was to stick tight, it would not move around. And the mind is something that does not function if it becomes attached to a single situation. You see how we lose the spaciousness of our true mind. If there is some thought within the mind, though you listen to the words spoken by another, you will not really be able to hear them. This is because the mind stopped with your own thoughts about the situation. If the mind leans in the directions of these thoughts, though you listen, you will not hear, and though you look, you will not see. This is because there is something in your mind. What is there is thought. If you're able to remove this thing that is there, your mind will become no mind. It will function when needed and will be appropriate to its use. I'm thinking of the saying, he says, even though you have eyes and ears, you will not hear and you not see. And Jesus says, those with eyes to see, let them see. Those with ears to hear, let them hear. He also said that a passage that I like a lot, he says, the foxes of the earth have their dens and the birds of the sky have their nest. But the son of the human has no place really to lay their head. No place to lay their head. And so we have this restlessness, this agitation, which is a psychological one. It's not a physical one. It's not upon the earth and the way that we roam. We're not talking about a physical bed, place to lay our head. We're talking about where to lay the inner head, where to lay the mind. And so the realization here is that the son of the human's place to lay their head is in spaciousness. It's not in restlessness trying to find everything to hold on to. It's actually in the spacious quality of our own being that we can discover or realize inwardly. The mind that thinks about removing what is within will be the very act occupied, that it is occupied by. So when the ego, when the selfing mechanism tries to remove the issue, it's the selfing mechanism in action. So it comes in the back door. If one does not think about it, the mind will remove these thoughts all by itself and become no mind. If one always approaches their mind in this way, at a later date it will suddenly come to this condition all by itself. So if one always approaches their mind in this way of freedom, of spaciousness, of letting it stop nowhere, letting it be open from the place of presence, if one always approaches their mind in this way, sooner or later it will suddenly come to this condition by itself, come to this free-flowing water by itself. It will be unrestricted, right? If one tries to achieve this suddenly, then they will never get there. You can't push it, you can't force the river, you can't force the ice to melt. But when you find that there is spaciousness and nothing to find there, and you stay with that, you don't let it, you let it self-liberate. You don't let it land anywhere. You let it find its home in spaciousness. It's very fascinating. Yeah? So it's about freedom of the mind. And when you find that it's synonymous with spaciousness, that it is spaciousness, and that its home is spaciousness, and that it has no edges, and then truly from the very beginning it is free. And the cause of our unfreeness is when we are contracted by all of the things that we mistake our identity through, because we want it to be hard and solid, and this leads us to all types of suffering. When we see that spaciousness and freedom is its home and always has been, you make a sigh of relief and you let the mind be free and spacious. You make a sigh of relief and you let everything be exactly where it is. You don't meddle, you don't interfere, you don't control. Let the sky be released of the idea that it is the weather. Lastly, Takuan, he recites an old Zen poem from Japan. He says, to think, if one were to think, I will not think, this too is something inside one's thought. Simply do not think about not thinking at all. To think, I will not think, this too is something in one's thoughts. Simply do not think about not thinking at all.